Welcome back. So let's talk a little bit about what a lawyer can do for you. And a lot of new entrepreneurs, well, do I really have to hire a lawyer before I get started? No, you don't have to, but I would advise you to because an ounce of prevention is worth a pound later on, right? It is an investment, okay? You spend a little bit up front and maybe you save yourself a mess later on down the road, okay? So let's think about some things a lawyer can actually do for you. Well, first of all, I'm not a lawyer. I'm a scholar of entrepreneurship, a professor of entrepreneurship. This is not designed to take the place of any sort of legal advice. But what a lawyer can do, in addition to watching these different videos, they're going to be intimately familiar with local laws and regulations that can help you decide which type of organizational form is right for you. They can also help you review marketing materials. Make sure there's no copyright violations or that you're not going to do something that's going to get you sued. That's a huge deal, right? A quick look over with your lawyer can save you a lawsuit later on down the road. Very, very small firms probably don't have an HR team, and so lawyers can actually help you with a lot of HR work. Now, as your firm grows, it may be more economical to hire somebody who does the HR work for you, and then you'd only call in a lawyer for like really extreme things that your regular HR team can't handle. But an HR person normally per hour will be cheaper than hiring a lawyer per hour. So as you kind of get those economies of scale, as your business starts growing, you may have your HR team. But in the very beginning, it may be cheaper for you to hire a lawyer to help you with HR stuff just kind of on a per case basis. It can also help you write HR policies, or at least proofread HR policies that you've proposed. If you are somebody that designs a product, they can help you with product liability, making sure that you kind of have safe products, things of that nature. Of course, you definitely want to have a lawyer help you review contracts. That's a huge deal, right? So have them help you review those contracts. Make sure you don't sign your life away inadvertently. They can also work with intellectual property and licensing agreements. And a lot of people say, well, let's say it's a license agreement for like a franchise. They'll say, well, but the franchise system has a lawyer. I don't need my own lawyer. That is wrong. Because the franchise system's lawyer represents the franchise. You need a lawyer that represents your interest. So really, before you sign any sort of contract, have a lawyer review them because they are your advocate. They represent your interests. Now, let's say you are like many new entrepreneurs and you run into issues with collections or bankruptcy. A lawyer can help you with that on both ends. Getting money from people that owe it to you, or also helping you if you are if you're a little bit delinquent, and if you're bankrupt, you definitely need a lawyer. Lawyers can also help you write bankruptcy plans and stuff up front before you actually launch your business. They can also help you with your exit strategy. Maybe you want to shift into an IPO or sell off your firm after a certain time. The lawyer can help you with that as well. And so the next question is, great, you're sold on the value of what a lawyer can do for you, but what kind of a lawyer do you need? Well, the first thing is you've got to have good personal and professional chemistry with your lawyer. That's important because they are a partner of your organization. You're paying them, but they're still a partner. So one thing, especially if you're a foreigner and you're coming to the U.S. for this first time, look for a lawyer that has a lot of social capital within a certain area. Lawyers can really introduce you to a lot of investors, accountants. Business lawyers know all sorts of stuff about local business. Use that lawyer and their connections if you don't have any connections in that new area. You also want a lawyer that has a very collaborative relationship with you. And you might even consider, as a new entrepreneur, adding your lawyer to your board of directors. However, be very upfront with your lawyer that you're not trying to put them on the board of directors just so you can get out of paying their legal fees, right? But you want someone that's collaborative and is willing to introduce you to their network. Now, there's two kinds of normally business lawyers. There's business litigators and transactional attorneys. Your business litigators are the ones that deal with the lawsuits and stuff like that. Chances are when you're just getting started, you want a transactional attorney, the person that drafts contracts, helps you with articles of incorporation, and then if you fall into a lawsuit kind of situation, then you get in there with the business litigator. Now, some lawyers do both, and oftentimes if you hire a lawyer from a large law firm, they'll have attorneys that do both. So it's always nice to have kind of both types in your pocket, the transactional attorney for the mundane stuff, and then the business litigator for kind of the emergency situations. And again, make sure that you work with your lawyer, use their services adequately, because prevention is so much easier than having to clean up a mess later, and it's cheaper. Okay. We in the U.S. are one of the most litigious societies in the world. We sue for everything. So you want to protect yourself up front. And of course, lawyers can help you with contracts, and that facilitates communication between you and customers and other kinds of stakeholders. So that's good. And so then you're probably thinking like, okay, how do I pay my lawyer? Like, what do payment plans look like? Well, you can do just by the hour. You pay your attorney by the hour. Every time you meet with them, it's for an hour. Now, the thing that you've got to remember, attorneys charge by the hour. So if you've got a question that's only a 15-minute thing, they'll charge many times for the whole hour. So try to see your attorney and actually have an hour of things to talk about, right? You can also do prepaid legal services. So you can buy like 100 hours of legal services up front, and sometimes they'll give you a discount for that. That's one way to do it. You can also, as you become a larger firm, you might have an attorney on retainer, meaning that you pay a certain amount of money and they'll help you with whatever you need within that particular time period. It's almost like a buffet, but a buffet within reason, right? They can also help, you can also pay them in equity. As a new startup, you can agree that in exchange for their legal services, you can give them part ownership of the firm. And that's a pretty good technique, because it can, in theory, help the lawyer's interests get bound up with your interests. So they're more likely to be honest, in theory. It reduces that principal-agent problem, right, or agency theory. So when your firm does well, they make more money, that incentivizes them to be more helpful to you. That's another way of looking at it. And attorney fees can range normally somewhere from, the low balling, it would be about $150 an hour. But attorney fees can also go up to $800 an hour for like really specialized patent attorneys, and it can go even more than that. But look around $150 to an $800 range. Now, when you're looking at small towns across the United States, there may be just a dozen lawyers in a small town, and they all know each other. And so that's one thing that they all know each other, they all compete against each other, but then they also kind of know everybody in the town. That can be a good thing. But big city lawyers can also provide, much larger services. So in a small town, you may find a law firm that provides, a whole gauntlet of services. It's kind of a non-specialized attorney, just general business. Whereas when you go to the big cities, you may wind up not hiring a specific attorney, but you may wind up retaining the services of a specific law firm. And within that law firm, they will have attorneys who can help you. Now you're probably thinking, okay, great, where do I find a lawyer? Every state has a state bar association. And you can usually go to their website, and it's just a simple drop-down menu of what kind of law you need, sexual harassment, human resources, transaction attorneys, business litigators, whatever, and they'll give you some references. Alternatively, you can also call the state bar. That's what I usually recommend people do, is just call the state bar and talk to one of the clerks there and explain kind of what you need, and they'll give you some different ones you can pick out. Okay, so make sure you're comfortable with your attorney. So you think about how to get the most out of meeting with your particular attorney. First of all, make sure that you're totally honest with your attorney. There is attorney-client privilege, so anything you say is supposed to be confidential. Now, yes, they are people too, and it's possible that there's dishonesty and other things that can go on. But I suppose you can find that with any human being, including attorneys. But you do want to be as honest and upfront so they can give you the best advice possible, right? This is not the time to hide things or lie or, exaggerate or whatever. Be as honest as you can with your particular attorney. Now, if you can do some of your pre-work up front, that can save time, because the attorney will spend at that time less effort educating you on different components, because remember, they're talking to you. That talking to you costs time, and therefore it costs money. So the more of that stuff you can do up front, the better use of the time. So like, let's say you don't know much about organizational forms. Well, it's a waste of your time to go to an attorney and pay $150 an hour listening to an attorney talk about the pros and cons of different organizational forms. Or you can watch the Dr. D University channel, get kind of a basic overview, and then go to the attorney and ask very specific questions, right? The basic lecture, just like in this particular playlist, might take maybe an hour, right? Plus some reading. Or you can go and talk to your attorney and just spend about 15 minutes on it and helping you pick that particular form, right? Now, there's a lot of stuff online that can kind of help you get educated before you see the attorney. You can look at American Law Source online, and that's a full links database of all sorts of stuff on law. You can go to FindLaw, that offers pre-done contracts, employment law, patent law, all that kind of stuff. It's very helpful if you already have, proposed contract already written up, and then the lawyer can just proof it, because that's a lot more efficient use of your time than just, telling the lawyer to spend their time writing the contract. That could take hours for them to write it versus just a quick proofread might be an hour or two. There's also the Internet Legal Resource Group that has legal forms and full links database for you. You can look at the American Patent and Trademark Law Center. That's a great website if you're just looking for information on intellectual property protection. There's the Legal Information Institute, and that is full of enterprise law and opinions, so you can do a little bit of research, and that way you can ask your lawyer more pointed questions. There's NOLO's, which has legal workbooks and manuals. Again, stuff that you can kind of finish on your own time, so you're not paying your lawyer. And there's also a website called More Business, and that has advice for legal, marketing, technology, etc. But you want to do as much pre-work as you can, so that, for that hour that you have that lawyer, it's not like stuff that you probably could have figured out on your own, right? And so this is kind of how you get the most out of meeting with your lawyer, and these are the kinds of services that a lawyer can do for you. I did get asked a question in one of the lectures about, what if I'm in France, I'm trying to do law, like in New York City, for example, how does that work? There are international attorneys, and there are law firms that specialize in international law, and they can hook you up with the resources for attorneys that are able to practice in, like, for example, France and in the U.S., right? The State Bar Association, the more description you can give of what kind of lawyer you're looking for, the better the State Bar Association can help you. Fantastic. Well, in our next video, we're going to talk about business licenses in a very broad sense, just to give you an idea of what kinds of licenses you might need to get started. As always, if you find this helpful, give me a like, that's a thumbs up, and make sure you hit the comments button, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below, and post any comments if you have any questions or anything like that. I'm looking forward to seeing you next time.